This is We Burlesque.
This is Whisper to Corvo.
Hey, it's Purr Stilton.
Hello, my name is Bear Trap.
Hi, this is Dandy Dillinger, and you're listening to We Burlesque Season 9.
Yeah.
Well, this is We Burlesque the podcast, and I'm your host, Victor Devon, and through the miracle of fiber optics, I get to talk to nightlife individuals in the fields of drag, burlesque, and cabaret. And today is no exception. I have all the way from Hollywood, I have Moxie. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. I am so honored to be here. Thank you.
Glad to have you. I don't know where along the lines we first met when I headed down to the West Coast, but somewhere along the lines you were on stage, you were behind the scenes, you were in the audience, you were running around, and that seems to be fairly appropriate considering you haven't quite nailed down one single thing that you are excellent at. You seem to have quite a few skills and capabilities, and that's excellent. That sounds
Yeah.
at least, if not exhausting, at least bookable. Uh, when did your life in gold shorts and sparkly suits begin?
Oh,
Which came first?
specifically, which came first? I mean, the best way to put it is it all starts in Nebraska, where
Oh,
there's very little art. It's just not. It's a large farming community. They love their college football. It's very simple living, but there isn't a lot of support for the arts, and so I was never a professional artist because there was no such thing. And so I learned through basically sheer attrition how to create theater. I sought out fellow like minded friends, and I was the kid who would make really dumb videos instead of book reports in high school. And I would go and do community theater, and it was just this urge and this like ravenous desire to I just needed to create, and I knew that's who I was and what I was doing, and so that's really where it started. It started with just this unable to be satiated by my surroundings and needing to just eat and try and experiment and anything and everything, and so I purposefully and almost necessarily dove into every possible style of performance and art and just theatrics that I possibly could, because there was never enough opportunity to develop like one single strong voice. And so I accidentally on purpose became, at least in my community in Nebraska, that one guy that did everything, because no one else did it, and I was always the first to say, "Yeah, I'll learn that. I'll learn to roller skate for a show. Yeah, I will. I'll figure out how to rig a fly harness so you can put me on the fly lines." Like, it was stuff like that there was just not that accessibility. So that's where it all started, and I found burlesque very similarly in the sense that burlesque doesn't. Let me fix that. Burlesque didn't, when I started, really exist. There was one single troupe in Omaha that was like working regularly. And what I will say as a side story, extra fascinating about that is that Omaha used to be the burlesque capital of the nation. It is literally the central rail yards where everybody from both coasts would meet in the center of the United States and trade all of their farming goods. And so because you have all of these farmers coming in for essentially a weekend, because you're riding a train and then you're there in the stockyards trading your wares for the entire weekend, they wanted entertainment. And so Omaha became, especially at the turn of the century, became the capital of burlesque. And since then, as the culture and technology and just the world evolves, it sort of just decayed and became sort of this backseat underground movement. And so that is why when I started, there was only one single troupe working. And I knew of burlesque because have always believed I was born in the wrong time period. I have always loved an eclectic mix of everything else. And specifically, I've somehow, even as a kid, had this nostalgia somehow for the old days of vaudeville and the Roaring Twenties. Even though I had no exposure to it, I knew what it was, and just the idea of that glamour and that theatricality of life drew me. And so I'd always been fascinated, and so I knew what it was, but then just sort of accidentally. A lot of things in my life I realize are accidental, and so I use that term a lot, and I don't mean to overuse it.
But no, I get it. A lot of things just sort of, I mean, or a lot of people would just consider that fate, or a
Yeah.
guardian angel pointing you in the right direction. So
Absolutely. And I also tell people that it's quite often, at least in my philosophy, I think fate is quite often what you are open to receiving, what your ears are open for listening for, what your eyes are open to seeing, what your heart is open to searching for. And I think that's what creates fate for my philosophy, because so many people have a million chances to do anything every day, but it's what you want to put your energy in to be open to. That's what you find and see as, ooh, this was meant to happen because I was searching for it when it came across my path.
but you seem to also have a discipline and able to say, okay, all of these things interest me, which for many folks in the burlesque community would be overwhelming because a lot of us are different, flavors of neurodivergence. A lot of us have
Yeah.
ADHD or anxiety. So I personally want to do all of the things, but I can only get myself to do some of the things some of the time.
Yeah.
And that's extraordinarily frustrating.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're able to do it not only successfully and with exuberance, but are able to then want to do it is
Yeah.
is something
Yeah.
specifically too. So I mean, a go-getter. There's both nothing so impressive and so irritating as someone who's really quite so capable.
Oh, I
So,
know
but we need
exactly what
that.
you
But
mean.
we need that, don't we?
I absolutely agree. And I honestly, I know, reflecting back on my life, that I would not be who I am and doing what I'm doing if it weren't for the fact that I grew up in essentially an artistic desert. It hurt so bad making theater. Like, once it was done, it was the greatest feeling on earth. It was my drug. And truthfully, the best skill that I have today is that delayed gratification. I love making things, but I love more being done with it, which includes making a show. And since there was no resources, there was very few people involved, it became a pattern and a drive to, okay, I know what needs to get done.
Mhm.
This is what needs to get done, and there is no one else to do it. Therefore, I want this thing to happen. So, almost out of sheer greed, I am going to make this thing happen. And I welcome people to come and join me in this process. But ultimately, that's how I sort of, especially in my high school years, how I learned sort of Pavlovian style of, oh, this is how this works. At least for my brain, I learned, you know what? I'm gonna hate it, and that's okay, because when it's done, it will all be worth it. And it's a really hard frame of mind for anyone to get into, especially in any sort of creative outlet, is to learn to put up with that frustration and that struggle, because ultimately the payoff will be worth it. And that is exactly why, yes, growing up, I just sat for hours and hours and researched, how do theater lights work? How do theater sound systems work? What is the audience experience? Because that completely reshapes how you present an act, how you design an act, specifically within the terms of burlesque. Like, I wanted to learn every single possible in and out of the theatrical experience, from production to performance to audience experience, because there was no way other to learn any of that. So that's what I did. I just learned it as needed. Like, I definitely didn't just sit down on weekend and scramble through how to do all this. It was because a theater needed, hey, we need to completely redo our sound system. And you have some experience running sound. Is this something you could look into for us? And yes, absolutely. Let me sit down and crunch for 2 weeks on how to even begin doing this. And learning on old analog systems, everything nowadays in a good way is so straightforward, takes care of itself largely, but it's very accessible. And growing up, even this was, I mean, for me, 20 years ago, starting to make theater on my own, in Nebraska, everyone was working on 20 years technology older than that even. So literally it was kind of this idea of like, you handcraft everything or it doesn't get done. Even the idea of like literally setting up how to play sound. My first summer stock theater had a tape reel, like cassette deck, that's what we played. And it was into an old like 70s or 80s amp that then went to wired speakers, and the wires ran through, like, so there was no temporary technology. And I learned literally through just like the old methods of this. And once I had that basis of, okay, this is like the hard brass tacks of how this works, and I have been able to just keep up over the years with, oh, here's the next advancement. Here's the next advancement. So I feel very lucky in that sense. And I know that if I had grown up in a more artistic community, I would have fallen into a niche because I would have been able to. And since I didn't have that luxury, I didn't allow myself, because it was either I step up and do all of these things, or I don't get to do a show. I don't get to create art. Therefore, I am going to do this because I know that's what will make this opportunity happen. So that has carried me to this day of why I work in so many different things. Even within the same show, I stage manage and I run the sound. I am usually designing, when in a theater, where it's possible, I am designing the lights and programming them ahead of time. And of course, I do this to perform. Ultimately, I don't do all this because I only want to be backstage. I do this specifically because I want to perform. And every single tech thing I do is a way for me to get to a show. It is a way for me to make that show happen so that I can guarantee that I'm going to get to perform, because at the end of the day, that's what I want to be doing. And in a good, healthy way, it has supported the community. And I am really glad that I've been able to support the community in that way while still growing my own artistic voice and having a place to express that voice.
Yeah, I guess it was probably, I think it was Lola Boutte that I met you through.
Yeah.
Looking back, it was that venue where all of the umbrellas make up the ceiling on like that outdoor
On Sunset
stage.
in Hollywood
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So when we met, you had indicated that you had been doing this. It was sort of a return to burlesque after a
Yeah.
little bit of a break. Um, what took up more time? Was it more magic? Was it more other stuff? What was your what? I guess the question is, actually, let's go back even further. How did you go from Nebraska to Hollywood?
By way of New York City.
Uh,
That's the first step that I
that's a
took.
very indirect route.
Yeah, oh, very indirect. Largely because I consider myself, not in a hoity-toity way, but in a truthful, like, bugs and dirt way, I am a thespian because I create theater. That's it. Like, on my taxes, literally, I designate myself as a thespian because to me, anything I do in this artistic outlet, be it theater, be it magic, be it cabaret, be it burlesque, be it traditional theater shows, to me, it's all theater. It is the art of performance and connecting with an audience. And so I am someone stepping out of the burlesque world. I am someone who I just need to be making theater. That's all I care about. And every single outlet that I have is because I've not been able to reach my hunger quota to create the art. And so I am constantly dipping into different pools just to meet fellow creatives and just to have opportunities to create art and perform. And so I moved to New York in 2016, specifically because I knew I'd outgrown Nebraska. I knew I couldn't continue to be happy or thrive on working and delivering pizzas during the day for basically 20 hours a week in order to be volunteering, making theater and performing for what essentially was free for the other 80 hours in a week. And I loved what I got to do, but I knew I needed to make it my life. I wasn't okay anymore having one thing just to try to support another and then go play that game of back and forth. It just wasn't my speed. It didn't work for me. So I moved to New York, got in with a couple of off-Broadway shows, and quite quickly, again, I will say luckily, and in a eyes and ears were open fate kind of way, fell right into the theater scene there. And I was doing theater. I was doing magic there for fringe shows. That's how I got into the magic world largely. I'd been doing it my entire life, but that's how I got really invested in the magic world, as the ability to be a magical artist was in New York. And I also had tried burlesque, but it was more of like, there just wasn't enough time. New York is a very singular passion city. You can do anything you want, but you really have to throw yourself at one thing in order to have the time and the energy to be successful at that. And so a lot of my side skills and activities and artistic outlets kind of took a backseat. They were never really gone, but they just became more tools in my tool belt. I always kind of just
busy doing other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And so if it weren't for, sadly, this is just something we have to always bring up because it's life now, because of pandemic, things shut down. I, was out of work. I had no art. I had nothing. And after
still fairly recently, then you were in New York.
Yes,
So
yeah.
this was-
2021 is when I moved to LA, but I was in New York for 5 years. Yeah.
I really did meet you right when you were getting
Right,
back then.
almost literally
Yeah.
right when I came back, because even when I was in LA, that first year and a half, I hadn't even encroached burlesque at all. I moved to LA under different circumstances, and this is a bit of a truncation, but it was sort of a deal that I got offered, especially with pandemic. There wasn't much else available. And so I moved out here, and then unfortunately that just fell apart. And the extra unfortunate part of that is when that fell apart, everything fell apart, because I had stable housing at least. I had my apartment here, but I didn't know anyone. I didn't have any other connections. I had only ever been to LA once, like would have been before moving to New York, just to visit and come see a friend. But otherwise, I had nothing. At that point, I had no work. I had no connections. I had no art or any sort of fulfillment whatsoever. I was kind of stuck in this kind of black hole. And it was a long process to be able to focus on my own mental health and my own wellness, to get to a point then where I was able to really start putting an energy to reaching out to artistic communities. And in a very good way at that time especially, I was literally just cold emailing anyone and everyone, because all I thought was, if I could find at least one, I mean, I would love to get two, but if I could get at least one voice in this community that would reach back and give me a few pointers or welcome me or just anything, that would be my sign that I need to stick it out here. Because I was not financially or any other way at a point where I could move back to New York or even move back to the Midwest with my family or anything. I really was kind of stranded here. And so it was more of like a self-soothing, I just need someone. I need one person, one entity, one theater, one something to reach back to me to let me know that I'm gonna be okay, really is what it boiled down to. And it was very thankfully that after cold emailing tons of people in many different art forms, I started getting responses from burlesque community. I started getting responses saying not only like, welcome, we're so glad you're here, but also pointers of where to go. Obviously, this was still late pandemic, so shows were not quite up and running to their capacity again. But almost universally, the responses that I got were, we are so glad you're here. I'm not running a show, but you should reach out to this person. Amazing. Thank you for coming to LA. Do you want to meet for coffee and chat about what the scene is like? There were so many people that reached out and lifted me out of that. And that is why I am here today. I talk about it in the one-man show that I created for last year's gala, that I was at a very dark point in my life, and I am alive today, and I am an artist today. I feel I have the ability to be who I am again because of the burlesque community, specifically here in LA. It was the saving grace that I needed. It was the hand that lifted me out of that dark hole. And so that is why I took a break, and why, in the best way, I returned to it, because at the right time in my life, it came to me and said, no, you've forgotten about this, and you need to remember, and you need to embrace it again. And yeah, it saved my life. I am so happy to be here doing what I'm doing with the people that I'm doing it with.
When you are looking back at learning all of the things that you can do, so much of that sounds like up to this point that was you voraciously learning on your own terms. Is there any academic or educational facility training as well? I don't know if you even mentioned college. Did you go to Theatricality College? Or Theatricality College? Did you go, were you in Fame? Did tell me that.
Yeah. I did. I went to college and I did get my degree in theater. And that was part of that process of, everyone knows college is like babysitting 2.0, and that's okay. That's not a bad thing. But it was definitely like, okay, this is really more of an excuse to do what I want to be doing. And sure, I'll get a college degree while I'm at it kind of situation. And so I got my degree. I went to one of the smallest branches of the Nebraska University in the state. There's only 3, and I went to the smallest branch, which I have friends who went to others that had some more money, some more capabilities, some better tech, some better professors, not in a bad way, let's say more worldly experienced professors. And from their experience, they got a very similar to what most people see and experience in the real world, as they got a very niche education. They got all 4 years hyper focused on, this is exactly what you want to do. We're going to make you the best you can be at this thing. And they really enjoyed it, and they really enjoyed it. And then when they graduated, they found that they were, especially in Nebraska, unfortunately, they were having difficulty finding regular work because they were very, very good at what they wanted to do, but there just literally was not enough capability to support that number of professional artists in that way. And almost literally by accident again, going to the college that I went to, on the first day, intro to theater, the professor sat us down and said, look, here's the deal. Here's how the real world works. We have very few people. We have very few resources. You're all going to need to learn everything, or else we can't put on a show. So if it isn't for you, if you aren't willing to do this and be poor and do this because you absolutely just love it, then this isn't the program for you. We still want you. We will be happy to support you and come be in shows, come do tech, come make it a fun hobby. But if you are going to get your degree in this, you have to be willing to do this for passion alone. And that spoke to me as, oh, I am meant to be here. Because that is literally the mentality that I've had is, I do not care if I die penniless. I don't care if it's big and fancy. I am here because I can't not do it. I am driven to do it. I must do it. Therefore, I will do it. And so the education supported that in the best way. I learned the vast majority of my technical skills for backstage work in college. That is the greatest gift college gave me. And I certainly learned acting technique and various styles and the history and other things that really helped me develop my voice as a performer. But the technical classes and program really is what has kept me working full time as an artist today, because I'm able to just do anything and everything. And I have some gigs where I'm only backstage, and I have some gigs where I'm only performing. And I have many, many gigs where I do both because I'm able to do that. And so that's, I've always come from the frame of mind of, I don't really care what it is as long as it makes a show. That to me is the best reward I can get as an artist, is just making a show happen. And if I can leverage that to get a performance spot, awesome. Yes, even better. But ultimately, I just want to make a show. I just want to connect with that audience, even if it's through a sound booth, walled off, and just hearing the audience react. I will take it. If that's all I can get, I'll take it.
Hey, this is Victor Devon. I know it's difficult to strategize how to spend money and where that money should be going, and I thank the folks who have found some way to support financially this podcast. Massive love to the people on patreon.com/weburlesque. Thank you very much to Courtney Jones, Dottie Rebel, Charlotte Strudel, Paris Stilton, Luna Delay, Goosey Gander, Roxy Reverie, Faye Havoc, Tiffany Lane, Madam E, iRed, Shimmy LaRue, Curly Bright, Oliver Swisky, Sebastian Crane, Alex Collode, Bo Bridges, and Stormageddon. Love you very, 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 very much. If you would like to support the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/weburlesque, and I promise you those dollar bills go to servers, to advertising, to actual real costs, including WordPress, GoDaddy, and people who need my money. So thank you very, very much for help supporting the podcast, and thank you for amplifying the voices of those upon it. Love you very much. Hey, this is Victor Devon, and I like socks. I've always liked socks. In fact, I like socks so much that I don't match them because life is too short. Not because life is too short to find the other one that matches it, but because I want people to see how many socks I have. And I don't always take off my shoes, but when I take off my shoes, I want you to see at least 2 examples of the quality that I am drawn to. And that is why I shop at Foot Clothes. You can get 10% off your first order at footclothes.com and enjoy the luxury, style, and utter ridiculousness that is Foot Clothes. I encourage you to do so, and I want you to do it right now. And I want you to feel comfortable not having those socks match. Get into it. Feel right about it. Take pictures. Make some money off of it. I don't need to see it. You can send those the way that you need to. But you have fun out there. That's footclothes.com. Promo code Victor Devon, lowercase, all together. So, obviously, as someone who is both capable backstage, but preferring the on stage. You like that glow of the spotlight. Um, what comes easiest for you of all of the things?
Easiest is performing because
In what capacity, though?
I would say easiest is performing in the sense that I feel like, as weird as it sounds, it takes the least amount of preparation for me.
Okay.
Because I can walk on a stage with nothing at all, and I can give you an hour and a half of just off the top of my head, no plan, no nothing. That to me is the easiest thing in the world, is just walk on the stage and just give a show. I feel like that, and part of that is I've learned how to do that. Certainly improv is difficult. It is a skill, but I have done it so much in my life in so many different capacities that now it is not even riding a bicycle, it's riding a tricycle. It's just like, oh, I don't even need to think about how to do it. I can just do it. And so therefore it takes no energy, no preparation. Like that to me is, in that sense, the easiest. It is easy relatively to do the various tech work I do, in the sense that I don't need to research as much anymore. I know what I'm doing. It still takes time and especially mental energy to make those things happen. Mm-hmm. So that's like nominally harder in the sense that it doesn't take as much emotional, or it certainly doesn't take a lot of creative energy as much as performing. It's a different type of energy, but technically it takes a little more just because time is a factor in it, and I have to really plan out how can I make those things happen. So
does that mean that choreography and learning lines that somehow might be a little harder because that's not improv? Does require a little bit more structure? Or are you just good at everything, Max? Let's just do it.
Okay. I am good at a lot of things only because I have been doing it for so long. That is truly the key. I can learn a play, I can learn choreography, I can do all that because I have done it. And I believe me, when I first started, I was bad. I to this day, literally, I still have a very hard problem with memorization. Unfortunately, I am not someone who can learn lines overnight and have them dead cold the next day. I really admire people who have that ability. I can get the points of a scene, and I could improv my way through that scene and get you to the exact same point that scene was originally written. But it takes a lot of work for me to memorize things, and choreography is the same. When I have to memorize specific choreography, I have to rehearse it a lot. That's where my difficulty comes in, is when I have to, which I think that's part of why I find such comfort in improvisational and ersatz performance, because there's no pressure of needing it to fit within the line, needing it to fit within the dance count, needing it to fit within the space of the stage. It can just be whatever, and whatever happens is a joy. And not to say that it isn't joyful, because I love getting to do the like group dance numbers, and I do occasionally like plays and short films and things, and I love getting to do those. It's just an entirely different process, and it does take more energy. So easy, as you know, is a very noodly word, but I suppose that would be the easiest for me, only because in my head it takes the least amount of time, the least amount of energy. It's just kind of like, woo, let's go.
You also are, for someone who brings in sleight of hand and fire, and I've seen you pose with sharp objects, but I don't know if you do swords and such.
I never have. I would really like to learn how to swallow swords. Like, I know because I have a lot of friends in obviously magic, but also in sideshow, a lot of like really good friends that like have their living in sideshow. So I know it's one of those, I know how almost all of the sideshow skills are done. Mm-hmm. But until I have the time and ability to practice and make it like count and work and worth it, like I've kind of not avoided, but I've kind of just sat on the back burner with those. And that's been, honestly, that's really the reason I do anything, is I sit on a lot of things that I know I'd be interested in. I know how they're done. And then I strategically put in the effort to, quote unquote, get good at it when it's time to get good at it. I mean, magic was the same way. It was always this fun little hobby. And then when I started working on magic shows in the best way, it was, ooh, now's the time. Now's the time to buckle down and really get what I'm doing here and be part of this. And then that same with returning to burlesque. It was kind of like, just, all right, it's one of my back pocket things, and oh, there's a community here, and they're awesome, and it's big, and they are wanting to embrace new performers, and it's substantial enough that I at least can earn a little scratch. I don't know where it's going to go beyond that, but I at the very least can earn a little money here and there. Great. Let's rocket right onto that train again and take off and see where it goes.
As a burlesque performer, do you find that, as a male burlesque performer, no less, that you are more appreciated or accepted by specific audiences? Um, do you find that you are performing to more of the women, more of the gay guys, do you have to work a little harder to get the straight guys in the audience to be on your side? Things like that.
No, only in the sense that I approach every performance as, I am going to give you whatever you want out of this. Mm-hmm. That is my mentality for burlesque in general, is I am here to have fun, and I am going to have fun, and I invite you to come have as much fun as you want to have. And so a lot of my burlesque is truly foundationally based in crowd work, because to me, that is how I personally best connect with an audience, and how I, as an artist, feel I best ensure that that crowd is getting exactly what they want out of it. I don't change my artistic voice. I don't compromise myself. I only tailor it. I only tailor the levels of how much am I in your lap, essentially, based on how much do you want it. And so I get a lot of people after shows that compliment on the artistry, but a lot of people that don't necessarily usually react to burlesque, and not in a bad way, but they're usually the quiet, simple, like, this was really fun, I'm really glad I had a night out type of personality that come up, and even if I hadn't even interacted with them, they come up and tell me how much fun it was, just how they had never had that much fun at a burlesque show. And it's simply the psychology of feeling out almost every single person and making sure everybody knows you're all welcome. This is a safe place to have fun. Just like you are free to be who you want to be to your comfort level in this audience, I am going to be free to be who I want to be in this comfort level. And we're going to find where those levels meet. So I'm not ever going to cross over if you have a hard boundary of comfort, because that will take away from your experience in the audience. And I don't want that. I want you to enjoy what's happening. So naturally, you use your skill of scanning the audience, who is really into it, and heck yeah, I am going to go give them all the love, but I'm going to make sure also that everyone else in the audience feels like they are getting that exact same amount of love. Mm-hmm. And so I will also purposefully, in almost every single act, find that one person that is not out of their shell, but you can tell they want to be out of their shell. Mm-hmm. There's that one person in every single act. And understandably, it's natural to see someone in the audience and go, ooh, they're really reserved, they're really in their shell. I better be respectful. I better step back and let them have their space, because that's how they want to enjoy it. And that's absolutely great. There's nothing wrong with that. I have a very good skill through years and years of practice. It really is just practicing crowd work, of finding the people that are reserved in their shell, but you can tell that all they need is an excuse. It's the same mentality and philosophy as hypnotism. You find the person that
It's
normally
most suggestible.
exactly, and it's that idea of normally I wouldn't do this, but I'm being given permission by this dancer to get out of my seat and have some fun. And it's not so much a permission for others, it's their self permission to go, oh, I'm okay to let myself go. I can now let myself enjoy this. And of course, I have hit walls where I have tried and someone has really pushed back, and then I don't push, because I'm not here to make someone uncomfortable. But that is the greatest.
That's the thing too, is that a lot of hosts either recognize or don't recognize that the house is full of cats and dogs.
Yeah.
And the dogs are really going for you, and some dogs are bitches. And
Yeah.
and these cats are all of all different varieties of consent interest as well.
Mhm.
So, but there are some very antagonistic hosts and
Yeah.
showrunners, and I don't know. Yeah, I guess there's a mean-spiritedness and sometimes also just a complete lack of awareness. But
Mm.
particularly in comedy, I have found, and I think sometimes it's the stuff that goes viral or the things that you want the rest of the audience. If you're not going to make that one person laugh, you're going to make the rest of the house laugh at that
Yeah.
person or around that person, if not at. And this is weird to me. It's a weird thing. Not that you have to go for the easy all the time.
Yeah.
But the easy wants to enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then you also have the pushy ones too, because invariably there's I hate to use the gay trope of the bachelorette party, but we have the
Yeah.
bachelorette parties. And the folks that are a little too, this is my show.
Oh,
My
very
moment.
much so. Very much so. And I agree, and I understand the mentality behind that. I don't necessarily agree with the way that they go about it, but let me also, as a side, psychology has always fascinated me, especially something even when I was a kid, not literally sexuality, because I didn't know what sexuality was as a kid, but that idea of identity and expression and connection, and specifically as an adult now, sexuality, has always fascinated me. And the psychology of how we as humans function and the empathy of how we connect emotionally has always been a huge driving force for me. And I think that's where my style of connection comes from, is I completely understand the idea of I took a swing and I missed. But instead of letting it be a full miss, I'm going to make a small sacrifice in order to save it for the vast majority of people. I get it. I understand that desire to want to keep the energy rolling, to keep the mood up and happy, even if it's at the sacrifice of a small portion of the audience. I like to take it from this point of view as, if there is I will use this term even if it's not literally correct, if there's a mistake made, if there is something that happens that very clearly was unplanned and broke that agreement of performer audience understanding of we're both in this together, I, just through my personal experience, have learned and accepted and embraced the idea of I will be the first to take fault in the good way. If I accidentally push too far, if I accidentally do something that I realize, oh, this put off one person, two people, whatever, instead, I'm going to let everyone laugh at me. I'm going to take the entire brunt of that, and I'm going to turn it around through just a different means, not necessarily right or wrong, but I'm going to turn it around by saying, yes, I made a mistake, and let's laugh at me because I made a dumb mistake. So instead of separating the audience, let's all come together. We were all together in watching and experiencing a performance, and then I accidentally fractured you as an audience. So let's now come together under different auspices. Let's now come together on how much of a fool I am and how ridiculous I am and how just unfortunate I am to make this mistake and accidentally tear some of you apart from the rest of the audience. And I have found success in the more you can keep the audience in a good way as a unit, as a family, as everyone is on the same team, then I can usually get everyone back on the same team and I can rejoin that team. Rather than trying to pull people to my team, I'm going to let them have a team and then I'm going to come up and say, hey, I want to be part of this team because I know that you already know what your team is. So instead of changing you, I'm going to come join your side. That's usually the success I have especially in those types of situations, because that's really hard. We all do that. And that is also just comes from my background of, I'm going to be the first to laugh at myself. Nothing is a mistake in the sense that everything I do is a mistake. When I do a move successfully on stage, it is by pure accident that it worked. And I want the audience to laugh at that too. I want them to laugh when something goes wrong, and I want them to go, whoa, that was cool. And it probably wasn't even meant to happen that way. And so let's laugh at this. That to me is my greatest joy as an artist, is that feeling of, I have no idea what's going to happen, but it's going to be silly. It's going to be fun. It's going to be sexy. And we're just going to experience it together no matter what happens.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because I mean, if your fear of looking stupid is not holding you back, but instead doesn't, in fact, propels you. In the context of a burlesque show, since you mentioned sexy, is there an element of comfort or comfortable sexiness that that you bring to your performances, whether it's crowd work, whether it's, the banter? You have the gift of gab, so there's no silence even in a non-choreographed act. I assume even during like a fire act, you're talking and you're communicating and you're giving the full experience. But since burlesque is such a potentially aggressively sexual or sensual space, and I would say this is a straw man, but I think a correct straw man, that men in burlesque, due to the concept of Magic Mike and Chippendales, and you
Yeah.
certainly are are a gentleman of a specific physique as well. I have to
Yeah.
say, as a somewhat doughier gentleman myself, I feel that there is this is an odd turn of phrase, but a softness that I'm permitted. Uh,
Mm.
Gay guys, I think also this might be like MC permission as well, where even though a lot of us might be gay, when we're on stage, you sort of become omnisexual. But
Yeah, absolutely.
in terms of how you present yourself on stage and bringing in, the sex appeal,
Mm.
is that something that comes to you in a specific vein as well, uh, when you're not even stripping?
Yes, absolutely. And it is largely based in I shouldn't say the fact, it is largely based in, again, those formative years in middle school, high school, college. I was never, quote unquote, sexy. I was the weird kid. I was the nerd. I had no fashion sense. I still have no fashion sense, but
Now it's a shtick.
now it's a shtick, exactly. I never had broad appeal. I was athletic because my parents were athletic, and they enforced for like good health. They were like, you always should be doing a sport, so pick something, do it. So I was always very active. My whole family was very active as a kid, and I
could
stayed
see as
active.
a runner. Were you a runner?
I was a wrestler.
Oh.
Yeah, which is, I fully admit, I wrestled for 12 years growing up. I did it for a very long time, and that is part of the reason I have remained in good shape today, is because I built good, healthy habits toward staying active and and just focusing on health and wellness. But I was always this weird kid. I never dressed the way I quote unquote should have. I was never popular. And so I, especially later high school, had this moment of, oh, I don't have to care what people think anymore. Like, I definitely grew up with that really hard self-stigma of, why don't people like me? Was not astute enough to think, oh, I should change myself. It was always, well, why don't they just like me? I don't get it. Why don't people like me? And that would make me try harder. And I thought as a kid I was the class clown. And I know now that I was just annoying. And I mean that in an endearing way. I was just the annoying, weird kid. But in my kid brain, I thought, oh, I just need to be bigger. I need to be funnier. I need to be wilder. I need to be more of myself, because the idea of changing myself had never even occurred to me. But I just thought, if I lay on more and more and be wilder, that'll get people to like me. And then finally, as late high school, it hit me. I was like, oh, I don't ever need to care if people like me. And I was still myself. I was still very much grounded in just who I wanted to be and do what I wanted to do. But the effort of trying to please others stopped. And so I bring that up specifically because it is my extreme belief that the foundation of burlesque is confidence. It is self-love. It is self-acceptance. And it is the idea of, you are perfect exactly as you are. It is okay if you want to improve a few things about your life, if you want to get a little healthier, if you want to dress a little fancier, if you want to do this, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that. But you should start from the point of, you are already perfect as you are. And so that to me is the confidence. And I truly believe psychologically, confidence is the number one, nearly universal, 99.9999% of people find that quality sexy. Mm-hmm. And so bringing simple confidence to anything you do, and a confidence, of course, like Magic Mike, can be very aggressive, but I have found my own personal artistic voice thrives best when it is a comfortable confidence. It is a comfort in, I am confident in who I am and what I look like and what I'm doing, and I don't really care what you think, and I invite you as the audience to come enjoy this. Come be part of this judgment-free zone, so that it's not just me on this stage. It is you as well being part of this free experience of just being exactly who you are and loving exactly where you are in life and what's happening. Even if it's just an escape, even if it's just permission for this 4 minutes to be an escape, at least you're getting 4 minutes of true freedom. And hopefully, as an artist, my goal is that you take that experience and that feeling beyond and remember it, and then elsewhere in life go, man, I remember how I felt in that, and that makes me feel good. And it reminds me that I don't need to strive to someone else's goals, someone else's expectations, because there are people, there are things, there are arts out there that I don't need to. And at the very least, if they can take comfort in that elsewhere in their life, then I have succeeded. That is what I want. I want people to just embrace and love themselves.
This is a big part of it too, is that a lot of what I try to impart to folks, whether they ask or not, is that the audience is very often on our side. They want us to succeed, and what they want to be is they want to be invited. And as you said before, giving permission for them to be part of it, you're also giving them permission to accept you for whatever you're going to bring them. And we don't have to try so hard to win them over, because I personally don't necessarily find it worth it. It's not that I don't care what the audience is that I have a better sense. I trust the audience a little bit more.
Yeah.
I don't think the audience is stupid inherently.
No.
And there is something of a culture of suggesting that, and I fall into it too, because I don't actually think that people humanity is inherently smart. Uh,
Yeah, I totally get
I,
that.
I feel that the last several years, particularly in my awareness, is that very often we do fall into, or there are some of us that are mean. There are some of us
Hmm.
that are not in it for the right reasons or the good things. And but very often that burlesque is such a niche and one of the last niches
Hmm.
where because it is I use this word a lot, insular, um
Hmm.
in it doesn't have that outside force. So people who are at the show, even if they've been dragged along by somebody, and they don't know really what they're getting into,
Hmm.
they're out for a good time. They didn't stumble into this to be antagonistic, to be
Yeah.
so. And not that necessarily do people go to ballet planning to be antagonistic or go to drag planning to be antagonistic, but I think for better or for worse, since burlesque is both empowerment and entertainment, that
Hmm.
there is a good for them kind of mentality that doesn't necessarily come up in a lot of the other art forms. While we
Very,
do
very
have a
true.
while we do have a good for them, oh, they really nailed that. That's so great that they were able to do that. There's kind of an understanding that a lot of this is sort of indirect of inherent talent.
Yeah. I know
Does
exactly
that
what
make
you mean.
sense? Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Not that we shouldn't be good, because we should be good. And people who aren't good,
Yeah.
sorry, that's why you don't, that's might be why you're not getting the work. Um, there's a lot of other reasons too. But there's a certain element of burlesque
Yeah.
that's also about look at the audacity.
Oh,
That's
very
not
true.
necessarily look at how great this came off.
No, exactly. Exactly. We teach this in our burlesque classes that we everyone has seen a corset being taken off. Everyone has seen
Mm.
gloves taken off. Everyone has seen all this. They don't care in a good way. They don't
Yeah.
care that you're taking it off. They care that you, as a human being, are expressing your celebration of
Hmm.
self. That you are so free, at least in this moment, that you can take things off and bare your skin and allow people to truly see you. I mean, that
Mm.
is the scariest thing humans across the board. That's the scariest thing for them to experience is what if someone truly sees me?
Hmm.
Like, I mean, there's that whole philosophy of we have different masks for different circles of people that we go to, be
Hmm.
it family or friends or coworkers or whatever. We all, whether we want to or not, even the most free of us, we put on a mask when we go there for any number of reasons. And truly, the good, and I mean this in a good way, the good and best burlesque performers are those people that you watch and you're simply seeing them without a mask.
Hmm.
Because we all have seen performers that look gorgeous and take their things off very skilled, but you watch and go, wow, that was a really good routine. And subconsciously, you're thinking, that was very well manicured. It was very pretty. It was very perfect. It fit the song exactly. It was very nip tuck to the point, and it was a very well crafted art. And of course, good burlesque should be well crafted, but I believe the ultimate goal should not be for people to say, that was a good act.
Mm.
To me, the goal of burlesque is regardless of what you're doing up there, people go, you are an amazing performer. Your art is fantastic. What you did up there, it is very you centric because that is the goal. I mean, that's the reason that slow burns work. You don't have to take anything off because the audience is simply investing themselves in you as the performer. We have in the magic world, there's this threshold that is sort of this, it's not quite an inside joke, but it's sort of this inside baseball threshold where we really deem magicians to be quote unquote official, like official professional magicians. And it's always that point where you're no longer just doing tricks. We know magicians that love to do tricks. Here's a trick, boom. Here's a trick, boom. Here's a trick, boom. And they're very good at it. But then you remember that they did tricks. When a magician no longer does things for the point of doing a trick, when they instead look at you as the audience and say, how can I give you an experience? Maybe I am doing a lot of tricks. Maybe I'm doing almost nothing at all. Maybe it's entirely self-driven and it's more about you as the audience inflecting and realizing in your own life how this piece of art can move you, whatever that is. That's when we in inside baseball say, oh, now you're a professional magician. And I truly feel that's the same for burlesque. In a good way, when people first start, and I was this way too. Absolutely, I was this way for years upon years. It was all about, what gimmick could I bring? Okay, if I plan out exactly how can I do this piece of clothing? Okay, how can I play this joke or this hot sexy moment? Or how can I work this choreography in? Or how can I do this? How can I do this thing? How can I do this thing? How can I do this thing? There's an act. That's when we watch, and we certainly support it, but it's very clear, okay, you're all about doing the thing. And at some point, we hope that you grow as an artist beyond that. And you're still doing the same things, but it's no longer about you doing the thing. It's about you being on that stage, being yourself, and saying, yeah, here's how I take this piece of clothing off, but it's not about me taking this thing off. And it is a gift to you to see what I am revealing because I am celebrating myself and I am allowing you behind the curtain. I'm allowing you to join me in this festival of self-celebration. And to me, that is also what demarcates the difference between what I would consider, regardless of actual years experience, what I would consider a beginning burlesque artist and someone who is truly professional in the art.
Hi, I'm Jen Ponton.
And I'm Lillian Bustle.
And we're the hosts of All the Fucks,
a podcast about vulnerability.
But it's more than just that. It's nostalgia.
It's unrequited crushes.
It's the mortifying moments that make you want to crawl back inside your own belly button.
Ooh, and somehow it's sometimes about pelicans.
A pelican allegory, if you will.
Oh, I will.
So if your heart has ever felt like a skinned knee,
oh, you'll fit right in as one of our fuck buddies.
All the Fucks. A storytelling podcast wherever you listen.
Well, that also falls into production as well, because a good producer has to also look beyond their own realm of what they get out of the acts. They also have to see what the audience is responding to and will respond to.
Yeah.
And they have to look beyond their own biases and self-interest, because it's not about them particularly.
Absolutely.
Too, and that can also get very difficult. Because you really, I mean, and I think a well-crafted or well-curated burlesque show, festival, review, however, is hitting all of those notes.
Oh,
it shouldn't
absolutely.
be 10 of the same thing. It shouldn't. We all should look like we're fighting crime from different cities. Like,
yeah. That's
really,
a great. I love that allegory. That's phenomenal.
I stole that from Kylie from Drag Race. But
it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
But it's true. I mean, it really is, and that's one of the things that when I go to a festival or I go to a show and I look and I say, even if it's themed, like if it's themed in a specific way, because I've done very esoteric themes. I've done very broad themes.
Yeah.
Um, I have affection for all.
Hmm.
But the even the esoteric, there should be a oh, we're all really hitting different stuff. We're all really doing
Yes.
different things. And that doesn't
Yes.
mean we all have to be doing, it doesn't have to be a variety show in that
Yeah.
sense. It doesn't have to be literally a comedian, literally a juggler, literally a sleight of hand, literally a
Exactly.
stripper. But if we're all doing a combination of things that are, the audience is going to get different notes. I think that that's what one should hope for. Because again,
Yeah.
you don't want the homogenized blurring together. You don't want, oh, it was a great, and yeah, you do want it was a great show, but you also, for our own, as I twitch my shoulders,
Yeah.
you want our moments too.
Oh, of course. I
And if
my
everyone gets their moments, then everyone gets their moments.
Exactly. And I think a well-produced show forces, in a good way, each person to have their moments,
Mhm.
by specifically making holes and gaps for that person to fall into in a good way. My burlesque troupe in Nebraska had a very, because again it's Nebraska and it also came from that lineage of old classic vaudeville burlesque, they had a very classic structure and mentality. There was a madam of the troupe, she ran the troupe, and she doled out roles and archetypes and said, you're going to be this archetype, you're going to be this archetype, you're going to be this archetype. And if it didn't quite work, she would try to give you a different archetype, but it was here's a box that you fill, because the idea is all of us then are so different. Purposefully, you will not play to 20% of the audience, and that's okay. You're going to play to 80% of the audience, and of that 80%, 10%, that will be their thing. This is exactly what they came to the show for and exactly why they love burlesque. And that mentality of every single one of you is going to fill a box so that by the end of the night, 100% of the audience will have gotten at least one performer that is their thing and the reason they came. And that was an incredibly strict structure to create a troupe and to run shows. But the idea and the driving force was smart in that sense, that we had a very wide audience, especially in Nebraska. Trying to get people to come to a burlesque show to begin with is difficult. So it made more sense there where it needed to have that really strict structure. But to this day, even when I see shows that are curated really well, it is those shows that you go and there's going to be one performer that you go, that really wasn't my thing, but I loved what they did, and the rest of the show was fantastic. And this one performer, like that to me is the sign of a good show, because someone else in the audience will have looked at the performer that really wasn't my flavor, and they're gonna go, oh man, I have been waiting for that to arrive on a stage for years, and I am so glad I got it. Or also the wonderful surprise that we all joke about, but is like the golden trophy of burlesque, that we all actually hope happens, is you get that one person that goes, I had no idea that I liked that. And I am so glad that you showed me, because now I want more. Like, that is the golden trophy. And you can't do that if, as you said, all of your performers are exactly the same manicured, pedicured, curated style. And so I think, yes, I think variety is, we're all different humans. We are all varietous. That's part of the definition of being human. So burlesque should be the same. It should be as many different types of performers in both style and artistic voice as possible in a single show.
Well, let's talk about you as something of a community leader. You are bringing people together, just like music brings the bourgeoisie and the rebel. You have curated something called the Burlesque Gala. Can you tell the folks at home what the impetus for that is, what the mission statement is, and what you hope to accomplish this year?
Yes. Burlesque Gala, in short, is a night of community celebration. It is designed in a good way to be that once a year for everyone in the burlesque and wider artistic community to come together and just hang out and celebrate each other. We are fortunate to have such a professional community that all of us are almost always too busy working and doing shows. We don't get to stop and just be around each other and appreciate the fact that we're all able to do this because as a community, we all support each other and we all make it happen for each other. And so that is what the gala is designed to do. It is an entire night. I call it a wonderland of burlesque because I want not just shows. There's 2 full stage shows plus a live band, but there's pop-up performances. There is historical costume displays, almost museum-like for you to wander through the venue and take a peek at. There are local vendors and producers and teachers. And the whole point is for it to be everyone to come together and say, oh my God, I haven't seen you in a year. I am so glad that you are still active. What have you been up to? Or they find that producer, that class, that creator that they go, I had no idea this existed. I had heard of it, but I've been orbiting it for the last 6 months. And now I finally have a chance to actually find out who you are and what you're doing. And so that is the whole goal of the event, is really drink food, hang out, party, enjoy amazing burlesque, but largely to be just this fabulous night of community engagement and community family celebration. And it all started because this was 6 months essentially before I was celebrating my decennial. And I knew I wanted to celebrate, but I honestly don't care. That's just my personal, I don't care to be celebrated specifically. Like I don't care to throw a birthday party for myself. Like that doesn't mean anything in just a neutral way. I don't really care. And so because I didn't care, I knew if I just did a show like that I wouldn't care about the show and I wouldn't care about what happened. And it would be fun, absolutely. But in the end, if I don't care about something, then I'm not going to do it. I don't want to put my energy toward anything that I don't actively get joy from. And so I knew that I wanted to do something that would bring me active joy. And literally immediately what popped into my mind was, I want to celebrate the community. As I mentioned, I was at a really, really dark, low point in my life, and it was the burlesque community that reached back to me and said, please come join us, be part of, we don't even know who you are yet, but we know that you belong. We know that if you are here to be a good person in our community, then you have a spot here and you belong with us. And so I wanted to give back to that community that had rebuilt not only my career, but literally my life, that had given me the opportunity to survive and create art again. And I always go, again, it's kind of, I build from an improv point of an improv mentality, in that I didn't know what it was going to be. I just knew, let's start reaching out to people, and I want this to be community driven. I want it to be for the community. Let's just start seeing what people are interested and available to do. Of course, there needs to be a big main stage show. Great, I will have one of those. But if I'm going to do a main stage show and specifically celebrate myself in that one show, then everything else in this event needs to not be about me, because I don't want people to walk away from the event going, that was the Max Moxie show, and wow, was it fun? But that's it. It is the Max Moxie show. I wanted instead to be able to celebrate, but make it very clear that this is for you. This is because of you. This is because we are so amazing as people. It is an opportunity to share what it means, like basically a love letter saying, I love you all so much that, and I want you to understand how much I love you and how much I appreciate all of you. So I want you to have my story because that's important to know. But more than that, I want you to have this place to come together. And I didn't know if it was going to be annual. I didn't know what it was going to do beyond that. But I knew that, okay, this needs to be a full event. This needs to be an evening. I started reaching out to the venues and to the producers. And piece by piece, I literally was just like, okay, well, if I have a show here and I know I want to do kind of a late show, what should I do here? Okay, how can I put burlesque into that? Every single spot was, because we are a burlesque community, I want to show off. I want to celebrate as many different artists. So how can I put burlesque in here? How can I put burlesque in here? How can I put it here? And it literally just grew piece by piece and sort of fell into its own little Lego puzzle as I went, until finally it was like, oh, there's an event here. This is the thing. It's happening. And not only that, but people are going to come and people are going to perform, and it's going to happen. And it was literally, once we started doing the event, and after, like, it was like kind of a little after the spotlight show, but it really hit halfway through the late show, which is the last show of the evening. Halfway through, it was this moment of, oh my God, this worked, in the sense that everyone here has been having the time of their lives. Everyone here is connecting. Everyone here is sharing their own stories and sharing their own professional connections. This was a success. This has to happen every year. And I had so many people, specifically during the event, say, and I didn't mean for this to happen, but so many people said, I have never seen anything like this. Why don't we have anything like this in the community? I've never seen anyone do anything. And that's what it was like, okay, this is an annual thing. It's not because I wanted to do something for myself. It's because very clearly the community wants this. The community needs this. And I am so glad that I now have the ability to make this available. And specifically, we get caught up in, obviously, shows. And there are festivals, which are fantastic. And on every single festival, regardless of the mood, still comes down to, at least a part of it is a competition. And it just is. That's what it is. That's not bad. But I wanted to make sure there was something that was never wasn't a competition. It was always just a highlight and a celebration and a chance for anyone and everyone who's good in this community to come be good together. So that is the reason it's happening again. It will keep happening. And I look forward to continuing to highlight our own community and celebrate every single year.
Well, where and when is this happening?
It is Saturday, November 22nd at Illusion Magic Lounge in Santa Monica. It starts at 6 p.m. and goes until roughly midnight. There will probably be after hours drinking and hanging out, but the event technically starts at 6, and I recommend coming for the whole thing. Inevitably, you get people asking, well, what time is the show? Well, what time does this happen? That's not the point. The point is not to come to a show. The point is you are here to hang out and celebrate and just luxuriate. It is purposefully an event that is extravagant and beautiful, but accessible. I want every single person to feel like they belong, and I want every single person to feel like they are free to live it up to whatever level they want to. And so because of that, come for the whole thing. It's okay if you're a few minutes late. Like, that's, we're not kicking things off right at 6 and you're going to miss everything by the time 7 o'clock rolls around. But there's stuff happening almost every minute through the entire event. So come for the whole thing. You're going to get amazing shows. You're going to get amazing performances. You're going to meet amazing people. And you're just going to have an amazing time. So come at 6, hang out.
Is it industry only, or is it open to the public?
It is open to the public. Absolutely. Part of my long-term goal, quote unquote. I always use goal for this event in the sense of I don't ever really plan. To me, it's too much. It's too much exhaustive energy for me to try to shoot for. We're gonna do this. This is what it's gonna be. This is how it's gonna happen. Because that just for me doesn't bring any joy. And I want to enjoy the event just like everyone else does. So instead, I'm going to do things that naturally want to happen and in a good way. But I do have long-term goals of what I hope the community grabs and takes from this and spreads. And part of that is I eventually want it to be a good portion of the audience that comes to be non-industry, because I want them to come see how amazing our community is. I want them to come realize that, oh, I went to a burlesque show a year ago and it was really fun. And I had no idea that there were so many producers. I had no idea there were so many shows. I had no idea there were so many amazing performers. I want people outside of the industry to also come and appreciate how wonderful we are, because we really are. We have this odd golden goose that we have set up in the best way, or sort of accidentally. We have this community that sort of self-regulates and empowers each other and supports each other. And people deserve to see that that is something worth supporting. Even if you're just coming to one show a year, come to a show, come support us. You deserve to know that we have this amazing community.
In terms of what else they can expect to see, so you said things are happening throughout the night. Are these sort of like performances that are happening? Is there entertainment throughout the festivities? How does the non-burlesque show element of this event work?
Absolutely. There is my I don't know if it's a tagline or a philosophy, is just burlesque around every corner. Burlesque in every nook and every cranny and everything. Part of that is the ambiance of people coming dressed up, having a great time, having amazing music, drinks flowing. I mean, it is the best construction of what a non-show burlesque experience would be, in that when people think of burlesque, they think of glamour, they think of champagne, they think of elegance, they think of extravagance. And so while still, again, I want to emphasize, while being accessible, that is the experience that people walk into. So there will be historical displays of costumes and props and media, like books and photographs and things from the Los Angeles history of burlesque and legend performers. There are pop-up performances right in the lobby. So as you're eating and drinking and hanging out, burlesque is going to literally happen right in your lap. It's going to be around you. In the best way, there's no escape. That is, other than perhaps using the bathroom. But other than that, I want to create a space where there is no escape, because we are in a community that we are the escape. So when you come escape into our community, you're never going to have a moment where you feel like you're not in it. You're going to be celebrated. You're going to be experiencing art the entire time. And that all builds up toward, obviously, we have a spotlight show every year where we highlight a story from the community that specifically is a different type of show than you'll see anywhere else. It is a burlesque show. There's going to be a live band and lots of clothes being taken off. And also, it is going to be very deeply story-driven, so that it isn't just, here's the art, but here's the artist. Here's the movement. Here's the passion behind what creates the art. And that is specifically what I'm very proud of, to be able to display a show of that type, that it transcends the art of not just doing burlesque, but here is why we do it. Even if that's not my story, I will resonate with it because you have struggled, or in the past, this has been an issue, and together we have come together to overcome it. And then we have also a late show, which is, we put chairs on the stage, we do it in the round. There's obviously overflow seating into the audience, but it is in your lap, it is body, it is ruckus, it is we are all drunk now, and let's have this really cool combination of what essentially is seedy dive bar experience, but dressed to the nines, and have this extreme elegance, but then lots of amazing twerking and lap dancing. Like, it is It is purposely meant to be, here's the entire arch of our story as burlesque, as an art form, as a community. And in 6 hours, I'm going to make sure you get to see every single page of that book.
There's so much happening in the world that both domestically and abroad, that
Mm.
sort of lets us know, or at least whispers in our ear, that so much is frivolous or silly or stupid because, the world is on fire.
Mm.
And the arts have been, to say under attack sounds unnecessarily hyperbolic, but there has certainly been an approach of suggesting that there are other things that we should be worrying about.
Yeah.
And I go back and forth as someone who, again, uh, is whatever crayon type in the neurodivergence box, uh, of like, oh, what is the point? What are we all doing this for? Everything. But there's never been a period in time where there haven't been artists and there haven't been
Yeah.
entertainers and there hasn't been either a need or a position for commentary on the state of the world to exist.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-Shakespeare, pre-Plato, blah, blah. But during all of this, and this is one of the reasons that I maintain the hobo clown sort of character. It's very important for me to play him with dignity, to be
Mm-hmm.
but he comes out of the Great Depression. Like
Mm-hmm.
and the thing is, though, that's not a reflection of the times. He's of the times. And the
Yeah.
times have never really ended. So
Yeah.
as an entertainer who is not only putting on events that both embrace and give levity in a time of awfulness,
Mm-hmm.
um, besides the joy that you get from it, because obviously we talked about your interest in the spotlight and how fulfilling that is, what do you consider about the importance of both burlesque at large and where it falls into this state? Obviously, as of the time of this recording,
Mm-hmm.
for folks who don't know, I happen to be recording this only a couple of days before it's released, but this is going to be out forever. So if you're listening to this back, this is shortly after Taylor Swift has taken on the mantle of showgirl. Burlesque, the musical, is going on at the West End. We lost the Burlesque Hall of Fame physical location in Las Vegas. So we have a lot of things going on. There was this recent article about whether or not burlesque is even empowering or if it's
Yeah.
uh, outdated. What are we? As someone who's putting on this show celebrating burlesque as an industry, a scene, and a field, where does burlesque fit in 2025 for you?
You're absolutely right that I don't think it is exaggeration to say that the arts are under attack, but I don't think most people realize that they are attacking the arts as much as they are. And that is natural because even withdrawing from something that is healthy is a form of attack. It's either an attack on yourself, on the community, whatever it may be. If you're not supporting something, you're kind of against it. And that's just kind of a fact. And that's not good or bad. It just is what it is. And you're absolutely right that art is one of the few things that is eternal, and it will be forever and ever because of the way we are wired as humans. We constantly, throughout history, if you look at different periods of major art creation, we go back and forth between times of beautiful escape and times of raw experimentation and progression. The golden age of the 50s in Broadway musicals, late 40s, early 50s, that was an escape because people were finally feeling the effects of rebuilding after the Great Depression. During the Great Depression, there were of course Broadway musicals and things, but they were very what I would just personally call silly. They were very light on depth. They were very light on character development because during that time, people needed an escape. And the golden age of the 50s was right when people were starting to feel comfortable again. And so the art was allowed to start bringing in some heavier character development, some heavier storylines. And it was in that perfect golden ratio zone of we are still silly and fun and broad mass appeal while being able to push boundaries. And then you'll see back and forth, and I just because I'm a theater kid, like that's why I know most Broadway mostly as the up and down curve as my allegory. But then it pushes again into this sort of dark, raw, hard, experimental, and then it bounces back again into, oh, just kidding, we're light and fluffy, whatever. So art is always reacting, but I think it always serves that purpose in it is responding to the times that it is created in, as you said. And it reacts in the way of serving the purpose that the mass public needs. During those dark times, it is the escape. During those times of comfort, it is that challenging, stimulating, intellectual, progressive voice that urges you to really self-reflect. And of course, both of those notes happen in every single show and every single bit of art, no matter what. But there are times where voices are very, very clearly evident in the mass creation and sort of the zeitgeist of the movement. And so art always has a purpose, and I think art should always have support because your health is important. Like we get real pedantic here, but it starts from your wellness, your health, your self-awareness. You need to have good mental health. You need to have good emotional health. You need to have good physical health. You need to have good health in all these different areas. And art is the main force keeping you emotionally, intellectually, socially, spiritually, and sometimes physically, but especially in those ephemeral parts of our being. Art is the major force that keeps us healthy in those. Because at the very, very simplest, if you overwork yourself, you will become tired and you won't do good work and you won't be healthy. But if you stop and you take breaks and you allow yourself to rest and you allow yourself to escape, you are now making sure that you stay healthy, you stay the best you can be. And if you wish to take that energy back into working, great. You're gonna work better. If you take that energy wherever you go, great. It's gonna be even better. And vice versa, during those times when you have comfort, you have that energy built up, that static stasis of being who you are and the luxury of being able to do that. Art then says, do something with that energy. Push yourself. Try to do this. And there are very few times where we hit a threshold of escape is no longer enough, because it's kind of a two-hump parabola. We have, on the one clear end, we have hard, raw, progressive pushing. In the middle, we have another big peak of we just need pure escape. That's all we can handle right now, and that's what we need. And then there is a third hump that exists separately. And this is getting real ephemeral, so I apologize.
I appreciate it. No, that's what we're doing here.
But it is the cross section of the two in sort of three dimensions. So we have a graph that is like two separate axes, but this is the third axis, and that is where you get the rebellion. You get the rebellious voice of art. You get the rebellion to the Korean War. You get voices. You get even in the Middle East conflict. You get these voices that artistically are pushing back because, in a good way, there's so much anxiety and so much energy that escape is no longer enough. I can no longer just escape this because I'm not allowed to escape. Once you're no longer allowed to escape because whatever that outside force is so prevalent and so intrusive, you have to push back. And that, I think, no matter what, is the reason art needs to be supported. And any withdrawal from it, even if that's just someone who wants to go to a show, don't pull back from that, because art is your mental health. Art is your emotional health. It is your social, your intellectual, your spiritual health. It is all of those things that is keeping you as a human as well as you possibly can be, despite outside comments. So that is, like I said, super specific, but that's ultimately where I fall on the issue of art should never be something that is considered extraneous. It is never something that should be considered a luxury. It is never something that should be considered as an extra good that is just like, well, cut that from the budget.
Right.
Like, you're only hurting yourself. And yes, we all have only so much energy to go around. But part of being healthy is you should purposely give some of that energy to the arts. Whether you're performing or creating or just taking a community painting class on the weekends, whatever it is, you should have some art in your life, and we should be, as a community, upholding that. And so it doesn't have to be this force of, hey, remember, we're here and we're actually doing good, so stop stepping on us.
Well, because I think it's been abundantly clear that corporations and artificial intelligence and any number of things will keep going. So they will fill in those gaps if there is not a creative individuality and collective force beyond that. Like, those things will reflect the times, will become the standard, will become, because they're marketable. And as long as the people in charge get to decide what the flavor of art, entertainment, and such is, if we don't have any say in it, then we'll get replaced in that regard. Because it always will exist. There always will be some sort of consumption, but whether or not that consumption is creative, entertaining, or fulfilling, I guess is kind of up to us. And that's a lot of responsibility, but I guess that's what we got to do.
We've actually been in, as a society, we have been in this situation before. Not literally with AI, but late 1800s theater in America specifically, there was no entertainment. So there were tons of little playhouses, and there were these little theater troupes, and they would literally write new plays every single day. This was the precursor to what we would consider a soap opera, because at the time there was only the live playhouses, and they were called serial dramas. And because they needed to churn them out so quickly, and because they just wanted to get people in the door, that's all they cared about, was just get them in the door, just get something on the stage, just get them to buy a ticket. And they became schlocky, and they became boring, and they became cookie cutter. And what we know of as a melodrama is literally a satire of the serial plays. The entire reason that genre exists is because it was making fun of how horribly boring all of this other art that people were just trying to churn out because they were doing the business, quote unquote, of entertainment. And that was the rebellion against it, was the melodrama. And so we have been in this period before where there are these forces that are able to just churn things out. And their goal is mass appeal. Their goal is just get the click, just get them to buy a ticket, just get them to pay attention, just get them to come to us.
Even if they just complain.
Even if they just complain, they have your money. They don't care. They have figured it out, and they've gotten what they want out of it. And that, I don't know how we will rise above it, but that gives me hope that at the other side of this, we will rise above it again, because ultimately nothing beats a human, genuine voice. Like, one person's individual artistic voice cannot be replicated, regardless of how much you feed that voice into a machine. That machine will spit out that same voice. And the thing about artists is we are always changing. So unless, now this may happen someday, I don't know, but unless you can program an AI that not only can take in that vast amount of information from a singular source, but also somehow has the wherewithal of itself to continue to change itself and adapt to the times and change to the audience and do all of these things, you won't have a true reconstruction of a human artistic voice. So as of right now,
I think that's Blade Runner. I think that's
exactly. So that this is going to be rough. We're going to be in a rough period where we're going to be flooded, and that's really what it is. It's going to be a flood. But if we keep pushing through, we will persevere in one way or the other. That fad will move away. People will start to see how boring and cookie cutter and annoying it is, and they will actively seek out those artistic voices that are genuine.
Well, here's to that. Cheers.
Yeah,
Thank you.
cheers.
Thank you, Max, well, and I thank you for being one of those people who it is one of my great pleasures in experiencing production of burlesque and in some capacity. And while White Elephant does not have a stage at present, being at shows and participating, and even the podcast and any the Silver Tusk Awards and any facility of celebration of the work is very important to me. So as a kindred spirit in that regard, I thank you for providing stages and providing amplification, which I think is extraordinarily important, predominantly ostensibly as white guys in the field, allowing that to be beyond our limited scope and allowing a queer, multi-body, multi-race, multi-generational, multi-class, multi-background experience. All of these things are extraordinarily important, and I appreciate the work that you put into not just your everyday, which is juggling 20 things, but also the burlesque gala at large. Can you please tell the audience before I let you go, do one of those 20 things that you have to do today? How they can keep in touch with your goings on as well as the impending burlesque gala?
Absolutely. The gala, definitely follow on social media, Burlesque Gala. We also have our website, burlesquegala.com. You can also email burlesquegala@gmail.com, like if you just have questions or want to chat, like, hey, I'm here, whatever. But that's the best way to watch. We're about to announce, as of right now, as the release of this, we're about to announce our Spotlight honoree, which is really exciting. So definitely give it a follow so you can see who that's going to be. I'm really, really excited about this year's Spotlight honoree. And that's really for all the gala goings on. That's the headquarters. For myself personally, I am the Max Moxie. That's the as in THE, the Max Moxie on Instagram and Facebook and Linktree as well. And you can see all of the just 1,001 things that I do around the city and just that I have a good time doing.
Do you get out of the city very often, or do you mostly stay in Southern California?
I mostly stay in Southern California with burlesque. There's other shows that I tour with that are not in burlesque world, but that's separate. Mostly, I am someone who prioritizes, or I should say, I am someone who values efficiency of energy, and that's kind of a downfall because I find it really hard to throw myself at something if I don't at least feel like it's going to be worth it. And I mean that like in a good way. So as of right now, I am loving working and being in the LA community, and I haven't even considered going outside of it for work. I mean, there are certain things like the Seattle Boylesque Festival, like that sound really fun. And obviously like Edinburgh Fringe would be incredible to do someday. But that's going to be when I feel like I have the mental energy and the ability to put myself toward that. And in the meantime, I'm just gonna keep loving doing what I'm doing here, because as of right now, my hunger is finally being sated. I am finally getting to devour as much art as I could possibly want and make a living from it, and that is why I am so incredibly grateful for this community.
Awesome. Oh, also, I should say that if you are interested in seeing some sexy photos of Max and Co. He was one of the cover boys for Peekaboo magazine which was produced by our friend Ashlita.
Yeah.
Ashlita.bigcartel.com. I have an article in that issue, so if you'd like to get an experience of both of us, you get the visual from him, and you get a little chatty chat from me.
Yum yum.
I will include a link in the footnotes of this episode for that. Max, it's a pleasure.
Oh my God. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And feel free to trim any and all of that. I know that I tend to just ramble. It's a Midwest thing. I mean,
it's a podcast. It's all right. If rambling is somehow a detractor from my audience, they've not been paying attention. As I will say, this is not a new development for season 9. So
yeah.
But I appreciate you, and we'll be in touch. And I hope
absolutely
to share the break of a stage at some point with you again.
Thank you, and sincerely, thank you so much. This was a delight, and
my pleasure.
Yeah, I so appreciate you as well. You're such a pillar in the community and doing so much, and so thank you as well for all of your hard work. I am. That's I am saying this now. He better include this. Cut this into the edit somewhere that he deserves recognition as well for everything he's done, for the shows he's produced, for this podcast, and just being a consummate supporter, not only creator, but supporter and driving force. You also deserve the accolades for that.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Victor. I'll talk to you later.
Go rest. Yay,
bye. Mwah. I'm going to try. I have a meeting here in like 45 minutes. So,
okay.
All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.
We Were Less the Podcast, created, developed, and edited by Victor Devon. Podcast artwork by Logan Laveau. We Were Less the Podcast cover art photography by Atticus Stevenson. Theme song, On a 45 by This Way to the Egress, used with permission. All incidental music via Pixabay under the expectation of fair use. Please visit WeWereLessPodcast.com for notes on this and every other episode. Follow We Burlesque and Victor Devon on just about every platform, and support the podcast via patreon.com/We Burlesque. Don't got the cash? Please follow, subscribe, and give 5 stars on every platform you can get your hands on. It really does help. All original material is owned by Victor Devon and White Elephant Burlesque Corporation. All other materials property of their respective copyright. No infringement, while likely, is intended. This episode, and all episodes thereafter, are in memory of Lucky Charming. Miss you, friend. And that's it.
Woohoo!
Tonight on Murder, She Wrote.
Hooray!
Hey.
Yeah.
It's kind of Piper Laurie and Brenda Vaccaro at A Love Child.
Thank goodness.
I want to know her.
Nails. Yeah, where's her series? That's what
She's
I want.
fabulous.
The son is Joaquin Phoenix.
I know. Isn't that nuts? And he is an ugly little kid. I'm sorry.
We're just like, hey, remember when this guy was in this obscure Broadway show in 1976?
Right? Look at him in those tight pants. Yum.
Well, because there's not a lot really going on. It's supposed to, I mean, unless you're listening to the dialogue, which frankly, audience at home, you can do without us. We're just learning
do your own
about
work.
Some of these
Damn
backstory. But Boswell put her up to it.
Yeah.
And then Trish had to be killed because she realized that Boswell didn't have her interests at heart because Teddy was the inheritor.
Yeah.
Playing her like a fiddle.
Oswell knew it, and Trish just gulped it down like one of those martinis.
And then tossed it onto the lawn.
And then lost her head. Poor Trish.
Trish loses her head. This is Victor Devon.
And this is Petra Fried
And this is Tonight
on Murder, She Wrote.